Welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I am Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses anywhere, and if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. So I got a request by request. Most of my videos now by request because my brain doesn't work well when I kind of think how to do this. The question was, what's the difference in the closing process for a buyer getting a mortgage and a buyer who's paying all cash? So there's a few ways to look at this, right? There's a way to look at it is when you're a buyer and when you're a seller, and we'll talk about time frame. So let's start when you're buying, right? So when you're buying, one of the ways that I get properties under contract is that I say, and this is the truth, that I have 10 minutes, I have a call. Okay. Is that I say, I don't have no contingencies. That's the truth. I have no contingencies in my contract. That's the honest to God truth. There's no inspection contingencies in New York. In New York, inspections get done before the contract. So when you sign a contract, there is no inspection period, unless it's like a commercial property where you'll get a due diligence period. But standard residential contracts do not have that. I know people get crazy when I say that, but it's the truth. I'm trying to shut that off. And the issue is that when I go to contract, I have no contingency. So I don't have a mortgage contingency, which is the most popular contingency, right? So in a standard seller to buyer transaction, residential transaction in New York, the buyer is going to get a mortgage contingency, which in essence is a get out of contract free card. And I can tell you, I was in the mortgage business for 17 years, worked for the same company. That company's still around. And people would call me through the years and say, listen, I just changed my mind. I don't want to buy this property. Just give me a denial. Just deny me. It's very easy to deny someone for a mortgage, right? Documents expire all the time. It's super easy to just say, hey, this thing expired, you're denied. And if you can provide a legitimate denial, 99.9% of those sellers' attorneys are going to give you back the deposit and say, that's it, you had a contingency and you had that way out. So I don't have that, right? And there are people who will sell to me specifically because they got burned before, right? They went through a process, some buyer dragged them along for 4 or 5 months, and it just happened to me recently. I had a property that was in contract for sale. 3.5 months in, the guy says he got denied for a mortgage. It sucks. It's terrible. And for somebody who really was waiting and thought it was going to close and really you needed that close, and then they get burned like that, they want the certainty of a no contingency contract that I provide. I'm going to close every time, right? I'm going to assign it or close. So as the closing process goes, it's really very simple. If I have the ability with no contingencies to go get financing, right? Very often I'll go get hard money or private money lending on it. But I cannot use it as an excuse not to close. Truth is, I can't even use it as an excuse to delay, but you have certain provisions to make delays, right? If I will close on or about day X, I can usually get a little longer time. But I'm open and honest about the fact that sometimes I do get financing, but I can't use that as a way out of the contract. So as a buyer, I use that as a tool to get properties that maybe wouldn't have been sold to me for the same price because of the certainty that no mortgage contingency provides. Now, when it actually goes to closing, sometimes I do use private money. Sometimes I borrow hard money. Sometimes I use my own money. But in general, from a buyer's side, it does not going to make much of a difference. Now, from a seller's side, it's a big deal. It's the other side of the transaction. Because it takes a very, very long time now to get a mortgage. I tell most people it takes 60 to 90 days, right? If someone wants to list a property, I say no problem, and I'll take listings. Let me get water. I'm dying over here. So I do take listings too. And if someone lists, they ask me how long it's going to take. And I say typically you got to think it's going to take 3 to 4 months, right? Now, why does it take 3 to 4 months? It takes a month typically to get somebody into contract once you start showing the property. Even if you found a buyer the first day you listed it, it still takes time for the attorneys to get into sync with each other, get everything out there. They're going to do an inspection most of the time. That takes time. I've gotten properties under contract that I was selling in less than 2 weeks, which is very uncommon. Most of the time it's 3 to 4 weeks to have a contract signed. And then it's going to take the buyer 2 to 3 months to get a mortgage. And it's been taking even longer. I have a deal that should have closed in May. We're now in July. I'm still waiting for their clear to close. And it's a huge pain in the ass. It's so funny because, I worked for a mortgage banker. And people say, oh, I'm going to go call my bank, right? And this person's getting their mortgage from Citi. And they're using someone who is really not responsive, who has been difficult the whole time. And it's not even that representative's fault. It's their fault for not calling back and explaining to us what's going on, but it's not their fault why everything takes so long. So a big company, so let's say a Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citi, Chase, they're going to use a processing center located in Jacksonville, Florida, or in the middle of America somewhere, huge building with 1,000 people working there. And sometimes things are going to happen, right? Corporate's going to cut. We're going to cut 400 people from this facility. Or they're going to say, hey, slow things down. Or they're going to say, no overtime. Whatever's going to happen, it's happening on a macro level from some CEO. Some CEO is making $40 million a year, and he doesn't really care when your loan gets processed. So things can take a very long time. So that's what's going on now. They're getting a loan from Citi. They probably thought that was the smart move. They probably bank at Citi. And Citi's been terrible, right? They just dragged on. They didn't order the appraisal for a month. Ridiculous. So let's go through the closing process of when a buyer is getting a mortgage. So the first thing is they're going to have to apply for a mortgage. Now, they're going to show you a pre-approval. Very often, they have not filled out a full application package, right? What happens is they're going to call a mortgage banker like I was, or a bank, and they're going to say, hey, I need a pre-approval. And they're going to run their credit. They say, your credit's really strong. How much income do you make? They're going to ask and not verify. I make $200,000 a year. Okay, great. Based on your credit, because you have these 2 car loans and you have this credit card debt, you can qualify for a loan of $500,000 up to 7%, let's say. That doesn't mean that they have applied. So the application process can be significant, right? Because they're going to say to them, hey, if it's simple, they just pay stubs and W-2s, they're salaried, it's easy. But what if they have some other income coming in that's on their tax return and they haven't filed for this year, they're on extension? They're going to need all kinds of things. Now, they also have to know about the money being used for the property. So let's say the guy's putting $100,000 down on a $500,000 purchase, for example. They need to see that money. Well, I'm getting it as a gift from my aunt. Well, then we need to see a gift letter from your aunt. We need to see the funds. We need to show you, so there's funds coming in. They may say, oh, you qualify, but you have this credit card debt and there's very high payments on it. You need to pay that off. And they may say, okay. They may say, no. The mortgage process is complicated, right? They need to know about income. They need to know about assets. They need to know about your credit. There might be inquiries on the credit that they want explanations for. And all these things go into getting the loan process approved. So that takes a long time. So then the appraisal has to be ordered. And everybody's got different rules about that. Some people want you to be almost approved on your income and your assets before they even order the appraisal, which I think is incredibly stupid and short-sighted. And some places will order the appraisal right away, which is much better. And then we have the appraisal. Because guess what happens? Sometimes you're going to get an appraisal back, and it's not going to come in for value, right? I just had a deal. We're in contract to sell it for $620, and the appraisal came in for $610. So now we got to discuss it. Am I going to give some in? Am I going to lower the price a little? Are they going to come up? I don't know what's going to happen. But these are the things that happen, and you want to get the appraisal back as soon as possible. So I would say if you're selling a property and they haven't ordered the appraisal 2 weeks after contract, you should start getting on the phone and say, what the hell's going on with the appraisal, right? Very often that could be an indicator that their income is really not what they said. They can't show the income that they said they could show, right? Maybe they have it, but they don't. But it's cash, whatever it is. So it's an early indicator. If you haven't got an appraiser to your house by a month into the contract, that's a bad sign. So the appraisal gets ordered. All these documents get brought in. It takes months, and everything takes forever to go into. It gets into underwriting, and so you think, oh, I submitted all my docs. I should get clear to close tomorrow. No, you submitted your docs, but they may not like 2 of those docs. They may go, hey, I need a letter of explanation on this. Hey, this document wasn't great. I need something better. These things happen all the time. Not sometimes, all the time, right? Now, if it's a perfect, this guy has one job and he shows you 2 pay stubs and a W-2 and you get all your income in line and all the money's sitting in your bank account, that's fine. But inevitably, that's not how it usually works out. Usually there are some issues with income and assets, and it can take 2 to 3 months to get somebody approved. Now, if somebody's all cash, it's funny, I have a deal now, all cash, and the guy is a builder who's selling a property to him, and he's waiting for another deal to close, and he's basically saying, give me more time. And I have to decide now whether the seller wants to give him more time or not. The seller may not, right? So it's a listing deal. I had a situation where the builder told me that, and I said, I don't want to give you any more time. I'm going to put it back on the market and see if I can get more money. And if you still want it, it's fine. So these are how the closing process works. It can take time, and it will take time, and it's more complicated when there's a lender involved and there's a mortgage contingency, because you don't have the ability to say, screw you, I'm not waiting anymore, because all they have to say is, if you don't give me the time, then I'm simply going to get a denial letter and I'm out of here. And you can go list this again yourself. So that's the basic gist of it. I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in all the ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. If you're interested in finding out more about one-on-one coaching, go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching on any media channel, please click the thumbs up. The likes really help all the algorithms on Facebook and YouTube and all the other social media channels. So I really want to thank you for. I'll keep the comments coming. I don't always know what to say. This was by request. You can ask anything. I'm happy to help you with any item whatsoever. It doesn't have to be about the video you're watching. Thank you very, very much for watching.